is Kolter. I just turned 21. I live in Bushwick in Brooklyn for now. Yeah, I was born in Vermont. Shortly after I was born, I moved to France and I lived there for about 6 years in a little town called Kolter. Then we came back and I started living in Mexico every winter. So I'd spend the winters in Mexico and the rest of the time in Vermont. And then I went to California for a bit. I lived in Oakland and San Francisco. And then I went to Hawaii and I worked in a tea plantation. And I moved to New York about 2 years ago, 2 years and a couple months ago. And I moved up into like a little room in Harlem. Horrible time, just like all around a horrible experience. Got robbed, like lost everything I had, and then I lived on my buddy's couch for a little bit and kind of like crash landed into like a little closet in Brooklyn, and things started getting better. My mom, she paints murals. She also makes like a lot of odd, like interesting clothes out of like leaves and clocks and things of that nature. And my dad he makes like sculpture as well out of like what would you call it, like gourds and vines that like wine. Like he goes to vineyards and takes like the vines and makes like candelabras out of them, like candles. So I guess I've always sort of been surrounded by like people making things. So when I was young, I just, started drawing a lot, and I got into graffiti like very quickly, which wasn't necessarily a good thing, but I mean, well, actually, used to say it was a great thing, but I got in trouble a little bit. In terms of the art I make, it's always sort of, I'm not really one of those people that sort of sits on something and is like, okay, like let me figure out like what I'm gonna do here. It's usually just like, I just like kind of just start doing it and just kind of see what happens. And like to me, that's kind of more of like my process. Being amongst the savagery, if that makes sense. I like putting myself in like weird situations, and I like sort of like overdoing it. And I like just being like, that's why I love New York. I like just being like face first and just like some wildness. Like art is something that anybody can do. It's not something like, oh, only a few people like can actually, no, like, are you kidding me? No, anybody can do it, you just have to want to do it. And I think that's what kind of what I always try and remind people and like tell them, and like, I don't know, there's just like this weird conception that like that's not possible, and that's totally not the case. If you want to do it, like do it.